A somewhat controversial match featuring AJ Agazarm. Never heard that term.
Surprising.
Those two terms in the same sentence before, have we, right? But AJ Agazarm was going up against a local opponent, and what happened was he was going up against Chai Sirasut of 10th Planet, a 10th Planet black belt, a new black belt. So AJ goes in, no gi match, and personally, my view of the match was AJ was just in control the entire match. However, the controversy stems from the fact that Fight to Win, they are submission only, there's no points. So if it goes to the end of the match with no finish, then 3 judges will render a decision, and they hold up the flags at the end of the match. And one of the 3 judges gave the match to Chai. So let's talk about that. Chase, your thoughts, first of all.
It's a pretty interesting decision. The one ref who raised in favor of Chai was Robert Wunderlich, the head Fight to Win Pro referee. He's responsible for maintaining the kind of standards of that organization.
And he was the guy on the mat for the match as well. It's important to note.
Exactly.
Right?
So he has the best view of the match, and he feels confident at this point running 60+ events in the criteria. And me personally, I also watched the match. It seemed like AJ controlled the entire thing from start to finish. If, as you mentioned earlier when we were talking, he would have scored 20+ points in the IBJJF rule set. However, in Fight to Win, it is just about one thing: attacks. And it's tough to gauge sometimes whether it's a real threat or if it's just sort of
a perceived threat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or a Hail Mary, and I can't say that I really saw any from Chai. I do think AJ was looking to finish and also positionally dominating. But under Fight to Win's criteria, again, it's kind of almost a numbers game. Like, how many sub attempts are you throwing? Yeah,
well, the way that the criteria is explained to me is that a major submission attack that is in danger of finishing the match outranks any kind of was working towards a submission attempt, outranks anything else, meaning takedowns, sweeps, guard passes, positional control, the rest of jiu-jitsu, okay? So, Will?
I don't think I saw any submissions from the 10th Planet competitor that would be potentially match-ending attempts.
Man, I'll be honest, I completely agree. I watched that video closely more than once, and I just don't see it, right?
But he does make an interesting point, because I've watched a lot of Fight to Win, and a lot of the announcers are always saying they need to move now, they need to throw submission attempts. That's what's kind of actually the beauty of Fight to Win, is that even if you're down on these figurative points, you can still come back just by throwing up a submission attempt, by threatening your opponent. So, he does have a few things going for him. The ref, in this case, he did have the best vantage point out of anybody there. And he was able to gauge the severity of the submissions as well. I know AJ threatened a Kimura early in the fight, but he escaped quickly. So
yeah, he was working towards maybe setting up like a DAS, or he was looking for stuff, but it was never at any point where Chai actually had to really defend to get out, right? He never had to escape.
Right.
So,
but it's hard to watch this as a kind of a jiu-jitsu purist in a way, because AJ did dominate positionally. He took his opponent to the mat. I mean, his jiu-jitsu was like almost flawless for the entire match. So to see him, I thought it was a unanimous decision when I was watching, but to see someone have come with a split decision, I was like, nah, there's something not right there. From a whole standpoint, looking at the match.
What do you guys think about replacing sort of the traditional jiu-jitsu hierarchy of you get position before submission, you sort of advance along the way and get points? When you remove that, does that take anything away from a jiu-jitsu match?
Yeah, personally for me it does, because then you get moments like, remember Gordon pulling mount? Right? And he was allowing guys, it was in a submission-only tournament, and Gordon just straight up lies down like that. And he's like, come on, go ahead. And the guy mounts him, and then he throws up the legs and he goes for the heel hook, Right. Now, under Fight to Win rules, he would be considered to be in complete control and winning that match, because he came close to a submission that the guy had to escape from. And the guy, okay, let's say, for example, he had worked. He wasn't just allowed to pass. Let's say that he actually worked like his ass off to get a double underpass, and then throw the guy's hips to the side, and then get to mount, control him. me, I mean, that is what jiu-jitsu is about, right? That's the struggle. It's about advancing towards a target objective. Like for me, I don't think a guy on bottom just throwing up, like, say, for example, a shitty Ezekiel choke from bottom that makes the guy strip the hand away from the throat is worth more than taking the guy down, you know, maybe like, you know, passing the guard, advancing to control position. I don't see it. I don't see it. But it does change the game. So I think really, I mean, if you're prepared to compete under those rules, man, you got to be prepared to deal with it. Just go out there and tap the guy out, or work towards doing that. Don't expect for a guard pass and an outside control to win the match.
It's true, and when you see competitors that have been on more than once a fight to win and their corners, you'll hear them calling, not for positions or for anything specific. They'll say, submission attempts, try and sub. You know, they are really just calling for anything from whatever position they may be in, hit the submission or go for it, because that is going to, you know, be favorable for the judges.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as a viewer as well, maybe it's a little bit different. We need to watch it through a different lens as well, right? If you're watching it through the traditional kind of like points mentality, then you know, you might be surprised at some of the decisions. But
even in the Gary Tonin match with AJ and the gi, you know, AJ would have run up all the points on Gary in that point. He swept him. He passed his guard several times. But Gary had the very, very deep, you know, knee bar attempt that was just pretty insane to watch. And that gave him the fight. So sometimes more decisions are clear than the others, but it is an interesting specific for fight to win.
I think it just lends itself to the bigger argument, which is, what do you as a like to view more? Submission attempts or positional control, points playing where you're passing the guard, you're, you know, getting to a better position where maybe you can land a submission. So it all comes down to that.
Let us know in the comments, guys, what you guys think of, you know, sub-only. Fight to win is a very specific version of sub-only, and also traditional points. What is more enjoyable to watch? What's better to compete in? What's true jiu-jitsu? We want to know.
Yeah, you know, me personally, I'll be honest, I want to see it all. I don't think it should.
I like the variety.
I don't think it should be an either or. You know, like some of these guys that drive me absolutely crazy. You know, I'm not about points, bro. I'm not about that IBJJF bullshit. You know, like I'm all about the sub-only. And it was Mike Columbus, the photographer. You know, Mike, shout out. He's hopefully watching. But Mike's badass photographer and really plugged in, works with Fight to Win as well. But he said it himself, right? The sub-only jiu-jitsu guys are like the vegan CrossFitters of jiu-jitsu, because they never shut up about being sub-only, right? So screw those guys.
There's something wrong.